Hi, it's Ian, and welcome back to my 30 Days of Taiko Skills. Today is day 17, and I'm talking about transcribing solos. So, transcribing solos means that you're trying to take uh, basically studying other people's soloing, whether it's improvised or predetermined, or a written solo, or even a composition, studying examples that you think are great, and copying them, learning them, transcribing. That word would normally invoke the idea that you're taking it off a recording. So this is something I've done a lot. First, starting in my study of jazz, this is a very, very common practice technique, common practice for jazz students, or even if you're very experienced, to transcribe solos from the greats, from anybody who you think is great and you think you want to analyze and learn what they're doing and kind of internalize some of the things that they play. Transcribing and then learning that and learning how to play that is one of the best possible ways to get better and go farther along toward the goal of um, playing things that you're happy with. And I think this is mostly true for things like improvising or soloing, where you have complete freedom to play whatever you want to. It's not like somebody's telling you play this part and you have to play that part. It's you have the choice to make it up. So that's where that freedom really can shine. Um, it's kind of like learning this new language and trying to get better and better. For example, if you were hired as a speechwriter for somebody, it might be a good idea to maybe go back and study the best speeches in history to figure out um, how does that speech work? Why is it so great? Um, Maybe learn how to vocalize it or verbalize it, see how the words flow together, see how the ideas are put together, so that when you write your speech, hopefully you can kind of use those guidelines to make something effective. And that's the same idea with the music part. You're taking something that you think is good, writing it down, analyzing it, learning it, and then hopefully when you make up your own things, you'll still start to be able to use those guidelines and um, make your soloing in some ways closer to what you're studying. That's the whole point of it. So, as I was saying, in my study of jazz many years ago when I started transcribing, it was mostly with drum set parts, but also other um, melodic instrumentalists I was studying. And more recently, I've been doing this a lot more with my study of Edobayashi, the traditional festival music of Tokyo. And we're in an age, of course, where it's very easy to find recordings to transcribe off of. So it's very difficult to find transcriptions, as opposed to you can buy books and books of Miles Davis or Charlie Parker solos. That's all the work has been done. You just buy the book, look at it, and you can learn how to play it. Of course, the time and work that goes into transcribing yourself is very much worth it because that whole experience of doing it teaches you so much more about the nuance of the music. So this is something I've been doing not just out of necessity because it doesn't exist, but also because I know it's such a great study to sit down with a piece of music or a piece of audio recording and notate it myself. And this is something that musicians have been doing for probably many, many generations in all genres of music. So I can show you a little bit about what I do, and I'll demonstrate one of the transcriptions that I made. Here is my Edobayashi book, my big book of transcriptions, and I have different categories of what I've made, transcribed. There's some atarigane stuff that I've taken off of recordings or videos. A lot of these videos you can just find online. The musicians I study are in the Wakayama Ryu or Wakayama Shachu members. If you search, you may have to search in Japanese. If you need help with that, please contact me and I can help you search in Japanese on places like YouTube. But some of these things are old CDs I have, old recordings, audio recordings. Some come from videos. Some come from my own field recordings. even through some study that I've done with teachers as well. I should always also note that you should always ask for permission if you're going to record a lesson or a performance or a rehearsal or anything like that. I always make it a point to ask first before I hit record and just assume that it's okay. So I think that's always good practice. All of these, anything that I've recorded, I've always asked permission, and I got the okay, so I feel okay about it. Things online, of course, that's already up in public domain. So I think it's just fine to take it down, transcribe that material for your own practice. I'm not sure about putting that transcription out in the public. Not quite sure about that, but I think for your own practice, totally fine. So I have atarigane, different taiko transcriptions. I have some fue transcriptions, various. It's a whole book of transcriptions. Some transcriptions I've received from my teacher, Kyosuke Suzuki Sensei, things that he uses in his teaching, that he has transcribed from his teacher and so on. So it's a good idea to have a book like this, and I can't say I have everything memorized in this, but I have played it through and worked on it, played along with the original recording, and kind of gotten a sense of it. So some of it I have memorized, but not everything. So today, the example I'm going to use as a demonstration is my teacher, Kyosuke Suzuki Sensei's teacher, Wakayama Sensei. He played, I think this is on a video on YouTube, he played the center shimedaiko position on this Edobayashi performance. That's called the tate position. And there's a section in the middle called tama that's like an improvised solo section, typically anywhere between 12 to 16 measures long, although it's not set. It could go longer, it could be shorter, but it's typically around that length. And it's one of the few places where the taiko player is free, or the shimedaiko player is free to play whatever during that spot. So that's one of the ones that I thought was very cool, and I just took a little time to transcribe it. And I think the reason I think it was a video is because I have some stickings written in my transcription. And this transcription I wrote down in Western notation, along with some stickings and some accents and dynamic markings and things like that. So I'll play that for you right now just as a demonstration. This is Wakayama Sensei playing Sakidama from a 2003 video, which might be online still. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, something like that. There might have been a couple mistakes in there. So transcribing that, playing along with it over and over and over, listening to the original recording, trying to get into this mindset of Wakayama Sensei as he played that. On this one, I don't have the tempo marked down, but normally I would write the tempo down in case I wanted to just practice it independently. I might get the metronome out just to hear what it sounds like. I might play with a metronome to see if my timing is okay. But it's basically trying to get deep into the understanding of this improvised solo of this great master, to see what kind of gems I can get out of it. So once I do this for a while, I can hear when I just improvise my own solo and a tama section, I can just hear these influences coming in, and it's almost like an evidence of lineage in certain ways, where it's beyond my conscious effort to try to copy Wakayama Sensei or Suzuki Sensei. It's something that's more internalized, where it just comes out just because I've done repetition, I've done the study, I've watched a lot, and it just sort of becomes this unconscious vocabulary that it just comes out naturally. So I think that's where we want to be. The whole idea is not to sound exactly like Wakayama Sensei, but be inspired and making sure that you're playing in the right style, have the right kind of vocabulary, but also let that be a springboard for being creative within this uh, frame of this genre of this music. So um, yeah, within Edobayashi, it's not quite right if you just play whatever you feel like and just play anything that comes to mind. It's not quite as free, let's just say. There are more limitations than that if you want to sound like you actually know what you're doing in that music. So because of that, we have to go back and study the greats. We have to, have good instruction from a good teacher, as well as seek out those recordings. Some of these recordings that I've transcribed, I've had to really seek out. They are not that readily available, especially in the U.S. It's one of those things that when I go to Japan, I would try to seek out and find these old recordings. In some cases, they're still on vinyl. In some cases, it might still be on cassette tape. Some of it's been digitalized, but it's not always easy. So at least one great starting point would be, looking for recordings online that's on YouTube or somewhere like that. And that might be a good start for this kind of music. Other types of music outside of Edobayashi, of course, there's probably many, many places where you can find inspiration. I would encourage you to branch out. If you're a taiko player, you want to learn how to solo on, for example, odaiko, maybe study the odaiko greats, but allow yourself to study other styles, other types of taiko drummers, or other types of drummers in general, or other musicians, and see if you can find inspiration to bring to your instrument in that situation. Okay, so that's a little bit about transcribing solos. I will see you on the next one.